Kansas City Chiefs 19, Los Angeles Chargers 17. Chiefs move to 12-1, of course. Chargers fall to 8-5. Man, a wild one again. Let me just start with my stats.
Okay.
So the Chiefs get the walk-off field goal. So here's what's happened over the last 5 weeks in the Kansas City Chiefs world. In the last 5 weeks, they have had 4 different games in which the team that was losing at the time was in field goal range for the game winner. They are 4-0 in such games. And they were the kicking team twice in those games. So they kicked they had the Broncos game. Broncos in game-winning field goal position. Chiefs block it for the win. They have the Panthers game. Chiefs get into game-winning field goal position. They kick it. They lose to the Bills. They have the Raiders Black Friday game. The Raiders in game-winning field goal range.
Botch the snap.
And whatever they did was a mess. Botched the snap to lose it. And then this one, of course, the Chiefs get into game-winning field goal range.
They doink it off the upright.
The doink, of course, it goes through. A 31-yard. It's an easy 31-yarder. And they have to add a little bit of drama to it. A doink.
Well, even then,
upright.
They keep talking about this kicker, who's like the third-string kicker, right? Because Harrison Buckner injured his knee. The next guy up got hurt as well. So this is the third-string kicker. And they're like, look, he's really accurate, but he can't kick a ball longer than 45 yards is effectively what we're dealing with here, right? He was like a throwback to like a 1995 kicker. Like inside of 40, laser accurate. Don't worry about it. But his outer range is like high 40s. Which in today's NFL, where people are out here talking about 70-yard attempts and stuff, is horrific. But you're like, okay, 31 yards, this is easy. It's it's right up his alley. This is the perfect kick for this guy. And then instead, it's like shanks it wide left and has to bank it in off the upright. Just crazy the way the Chiefs are finding to win these games.
It was wild. And so early on, the Chiefs get up early. They're up 6-0. It ends up 13-0 by the half, but there was one sequence that looked potentially disastrous, right? I mean, Justin Herbert rolls out, and the Chargers had hit a little bit of a stretch. It seemed like every open receiver was dropping passes, and then you had the one big miss by Herbert down the field on a wide open Josh Palmer, and it's like, oh man, all those are going to come back to bite. And then you have Herbert roll out, make this spectacular play, gets negated by a hold, and he gets nailed in the knee. And injured. It looked really bad. It ends up, I guess it was, and just ended up being a bruise, right? Like a helmet or forearm to the
Charlie horse.
Just a bad Charlie horse. That's
all
it was. I guess. Yeah. And this was right before the half, so you don't know how hurt Herbert is and everything. So the Chiefs are up 13-0 at the half. You think you have an injured Justin Herbert, and then he comes out smoking in the second half, throwing lasers all over the place again. And before you know it, Chargers go up 14-13.
You mentioned Baker Mayfield earlier being streaky as a quarterback. I feel like Justin Herbert might be one of the most streaky quarterbacks in the NFL, except his negative streaks don't come with turnovers. He just stops. It's like,
just straight up misses.
It's like NBA Jam when the guy's on fire. Like when Justin Herbert is on fire, he looks like the best quarterback in the NFL. He's just dropping lasers left, right, and center, ridiculous throws, pinpoint accuracy. You're like, this is literally unstoppable. There's nothing you can do on defense against him when he's in that mode. But then the fire goes out, and he's just not the same guy anymore. And it's like, okay, it's not like he hasn't become bad. Like he hasn't started doing Jameis or Baker stuff where he's pitching the ball to the defense and making terrible plays. We're just no longer on fire. And it's a very different quarterback when he's like, remember, was it the Bengals game where the first half, it's like, oh no, like Justin Herbert
couldn't miss,
right?
Scrambling everywhere.
It's over already, and then it just stopped. The fire went out, and we didn't see that guy again. It's weird. He goes on these runs, and they tend to be within games as well, where he just catches fire, and he's absolutely unstoppable, and then the fire simply gets extinguished, and it's not the same.
So the second half, he was on fire, and they go up 14-13. They exchange a couple field goals. So Chargers were hanging tough without Ladd McConkey, by the way, too. We didn't know this during the preview show, but Ladd McConkey dealing with 2 different injuries. The guy that had about 80% of the Chargers receiving yards a week ago against the Falcons, he didn't play. So they needed to get Quentin Johnston, who made some big plays in this game, and Josh Palmer. They had to get those guys going. Stone Smart, of course, who's like Mr. Sunday Night Football, because it's always Mike and Chris raving about Stone Smart, the backup tight end for the Chargers. The Chargers get back into the game, and then we have the usual Chiefs sequences. Chiefs go up 16-14. Chargers come back. Again, 14 plays, 57 yards. That's one of those, like, the Chargers need to get that into the end zone. Chiefs defense holds, makes some big stops there. So it's Chargers 17-16. And then was that when the kickoff went out of bounds? Right after that?
I'm not sure.
I think it was. Cameron Dicker kicks the ball. Not out of bounds, but short of
he didn't get it in the landing zone.
Short of the landing zone. Yeah. So it's so the Chiefs are gonna drive to look to get a game-winning field goal, as they tend to do, and Cameron Dicker kicks it short of the landing zone. So the drive's going to start at the 40 with 4:35 left.
Yeah.
And look, there's an element of, can the Chiefs keep this up? Blah 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 blah. True, but there's always this element of, even in a game where throw for throw, how good was Mahomes? Not that great. Fine, right? Every single time they really needed on third down. Not every time. I mean, he left some plays on the table against the Raiders and the Broncos. Like, he made some bad plays. 3rd and 10, hits Xavier Worthy under pressure, puts it in stride on a crossing route. And then the final play, the one that kind of, and then it's the 3rd and 7, right? So the Chargers have one play to make a stop and force the Chiefs to kick the field goal and give them time to make the comeback. And it's 3rd and 7. The Chiefs always roll Mahomes out on 3rd down. And the same thing, draws the defense, jukes a defender, flips it out to Travis Kelce for the 9 yards in the conversion. And that essentially sets the Chiefs up to, okay, Chargers can't stop the clock. And, Chiefs are setting up the walk-off field goal, which they hit with the doink. But those key plays, the Chiefs get away with stuff and they play tight and they're calibrated to win by 2 or 3. But there's so many times where Mahomes just makes 1 or 2 plays that are special. Defense can't make the stop, and that was the difference in this one.
Yeah, I mean, he is improbably good in high leverage situations, and I think you have to conclude at this point that it's a skill. It's not luck. Look, the Chiefs, I think, have gotten lucky at times this season, but there's
non-Mahomes luck that has showed up this year, right?
Like,
which is the Broncos, the Raiders game, and in this one, if that ball did hit the upright and just missed, it's like, all right, that's bad luck.
Yeah.
That's bad Mahomes luck,
right,
basically.
But
he set them up for the game winner.
There's nuance to all of this. Like, it's a complicated conversation. Like, I think, and this is part of what Nick Wright was saying when we had him on, like, the conversation is kind of dumb because everyone's just like, look at all these one-score games. The Chiefs have gotten endlessly lucky every game this season. It's like, it's not really true. Like, they were better than the Ravens. And if the Ravens had gotten the one toe in, they still would have had to decide, are we going to try and score with 2 points here and win the game? Like, it was to tie, not to win, right? So, and various other things. Now, they got lucky against the Raiders, I think. The Broncos, the Broncos had a very short field goal, but they blocked it. Like, they made a play. Now, you can say it's an unlikely play to make, but they still made it. The Raiders one is the one where they legitimately didn't do anything. The Raiders just shot themselves in the foot. That's luck. They maneuvered themselves into field goal range, and had they missed a 31-yard field goal with their 3rd-string kicker, you would have been saying that's an improbable way to lose a game, not to win. So the fact that it hit the upright just makes it look along the same vein of, well, they're riding their luck every single game this year. But
what they did incredibly well was they got the ball with 4:30 left and drained out the entire clock.
And Mahomes,
which includes those 2 huge 3rd down conversions.
And Mahomes, in these high leverage situations, down in distance, late in the game, late in the series, etc., is just improbably good, and repeatedly so, over and over and over again. And basically any way you can slice and filter the data to sort of higher leverage clutch plays, right? 3rd and 4th down, 3rd and 4th and long, 4th quarter, all these things. Mahomes jumps from being pretty good on the year overall to like one of arguably the best in the NFL, or up there with Joe Burrow, who we say should be MVP but won't be because he can't win games. Like, every time the game is on the line, Mahomes starts making the plays. And here, that play, Dan Henley had him in the open field, one of the most athletic linebackers in the NFL. Mahomes sidesteps him like he isn't there and then finds the pass. Like, 2 things. Both of them needed to keep the play working. He just keeps doing it. And I think, given what we've seen from him in his career so far, you have to conclude that he's able to, whether or not he's like intentionally sandbagging for the rest of the game, which I think is less likely, he does seem to be able to recognize, all right, now I need it and get it.
And it's really the entire Chiefs team, man. I mean, it really is across the board. As you mentioned, it's a blocked field goal. The Chiefs defense making the red zone stop. They gave up two touchdowns to the Chargers that were pretty emphatic. Like the two best Chargers drives back to back were touchdowns, and that was it. After that, the Chiefs defense makes stops in the red zone. They sack Justin Herbert to just, end any attempt at the Chargers getting up, more than the 2 points that they were up. So just full team effort this is where like the EPA numbers like kind of matter, but don't. Like being middle of the pack from an EPA standpoint for the Chiefs defense, I don't think matters because they're 7th in points allowed. They don't give up points, but it's part of the team effort because they play lower possession games. The offense plays a lot of ball control now. It's like high success rate, but low explosive plays. It's a full team effort. So like I was joking about, like they're calibrated to win by 2 or 3, but that's kind of what they are. And I know it's different from early Chiefs where it's like light up the scoreboard and the defense wasn't really great. It is a slower, more methodical offense that keeps missing on big play attempts. That was another big play. Like Mahomes' best throw maybe hits DeAndre Hopkins in the hands. It's kind of bang bang, but Cam Hart gets in there and breaks it up. That saved the game
play
for the Chargers for a minute.
Yeah.
For a minute, it saved the game because that would have absolutely ended it. So the Chiefs have just missed on a lot of explosive plays this season, but they make Mahomes picks up 11 when you need 10 and 8 when you need 7. Like as a team, that's what they seem to do. Not just Mahomes. They make all of the key plays at the end of the game. It's also just a fair question, law of averages. Can you always do that? Are you always able to do that? They continue to defy the odds, but
they've been doing it for so long now that you have to start concluding that they are actually able to do that, right? It's not a thing most people can do.
And look, I said it much earlier on the show. The Chiefs don't lose a lot of games, obviously. When you go back and look at a lot of their losses, it's like, oh, Travis Kelce fumbled on a game-winning drive attempt, or there was this uncharacteristic play, or Kadarius Toney muffed a punt, or Mecole Hardman muffed a punt. The Chiefs just aren't making those disastrous mistakes. Early in the season, Mahomes was, but in the first quarter, right? At a point where the leverage of the game wasn't that bad. He hasn't been doing it late. The Chiefs aren't making the Kadarius Toney plays this year. So it's not so much luck. Like they literally just got rid of these disastrous plays that always seem to lead to losses. And that's why they're pulling out all these one-score games.
Yeah. So impressive by them. The Chargers, I mean, they were behind the 8 ball because of the injuries, right? Like Lab McConkey, who's been their best offensive weapon, not there. Like at one point, pretty deep in the game, Taylor Heineke was the leading rusher who'd come in for one play where Justin Herbert was out and scrambled 12 yards on a 3rd down. Like he was their leading rusher for the game for a big chunk. You're relying on Quentin Johnson making plays as a receiver. Now he did. He made a couple of nice plays in particular. Less like spectacular grabs or anything, but more he got blasted a couple of times after catching the ball and held on.
Yeah.
So those types of plays. But at one point, Herbert misses a 80-yard touchdown to Joshua Palmer, which I think looked worse than it was because it was like a kind of corner post type of fake. You're one-on-one with the safety. You give him the fake to the outside and cut back inside, and you've wrong-footed the safety. It's wide open, right? I think generally you coach the wide receiver to make that break as shallow, as skinny to the post as possible because it's easier to adjust to an underthrown ball than it is to adjust back to a skinny one.
Right.
So Herbert throws that, and I think it is overthrown regardless, but Herbert throws that like really skinny, and Palmer has to try and like adjust back out to it and can't catch up to it again. Maybe he wouldn't have got there anyway if he'd run it skinnier, but he at least would have had an easier attempt at adjusting to it. But either way, close miss, that's an 80-yard touchdown if they connect on that play.
Blame aside, no matter who's to blame or overthrow, whatever, it's like those are the plays. You have to, like you go back, and look, the Chiefs, every team has missed plays, but you have to play almost perfect to beat the Chiefs every single week. You gotta hit those plays.
The other dynamic in this game was we got DJ Humphries out there for Kansas City.
Yeah, and look, I tweeted last week, and we talked about it on the preview show. I think a a healthy DJ Humphries makes this offense better. He looked a little rusty early on, but still probably better than what they've been bringing to the table. You just didn't have those disastrous whiffs in the pass game as much.
Well, we got two things. Then he got hurt. Yeah, so with a healthy DJ Humphrey, maybe an upgrade, but then he's no longer healthy because he went off with a hamstring issue. So how long that's going to linger will be an issue, and how long it takes him to knock the rust off.
Yeah, it is wild. They're because again, the offense, it's like they do just enough, but they're like 11th in points scored this year and everything. It's not the Kansas City that you're used to, and left tackle has been an issue and might still be an issue going forward.
And for the Chargers, like, their offensive line was great outside of Trey Pipkins, who was individually getting victimized by the Kansas City defense.
I just can't wait to see next week how Kansas City beats the Browns by 3. How are they going to beat Jameis's Browns by 3?
Jameis actually has the game in hand and decides to throw a pick six.
Jameis is going to go 5 touchdowns, 4 picks.
But the picks, like the last one will be a pick 6 when, in fact, they should just be running out the clock.
Just wait until the Chiefs win the Super Bowl against the Lions on a walk-off safety this year.
Jameis tries to pick up a first down on an RPO and ends up throwing a pick 6 instead.
He just like keeps it on a designed run play. No one else knows.
Fumbles it away.
Yeah. It's like, I saw the keeper open.
It was the space opened up. I thought I could take it myself.
Saw the Peyton Manning highlight. Decided to do it myself.
Yeah.
Oh man. So Chiefs do it again. Can the Chiefs keep getting away with it? Yeah, I guess they can. So yeah, they have a 2-game lead now for the number 1 seed. That's massive.
Yeah.
Because now you're getting to the point where they might be able to rest starters. They like to rest starters at the end of the year. They're a little bit closer to clinching number 1 now.
Yeah, I mean, them getting that win and Buffalo dropping a game was absolutely huge.
Huge.
Now, I think Kansas City's run-in is more difficult than Buffalo's, even with the Bills having to play Detroit. They're on the road against Cleveland, who are at least dangerous in any given week with Jameis. Then they're at home against Houston, and then remember, they were one of the teams that has that absurd Christmas stretch. So Houston on the road against Pittsburgh, on the road against Denver in that critical Week 18 game we keep talking about.
But this was a massive week for the Chiefs. And look, Chargers hung tough, still battling for those wild card spots. And, I think Harbaugh still got them in the right direction. But, man, a couple plays here and there.
Yeah, I mean, they're still in good shape. They're still, I think, overachieving this season. But the loss of, J.K. Dobbins was a big loss for them. But Ladd McConkey not being in any given game is a problem for them because it's not a good receiving core anyway. And you take the best player out of it, it's bad. Thanks for watching all the way to the end of our video.
For more great content, click here to subscribe and here to watch another video. We'll see you again soon.